Krishna. Well, welcome everybody this evening, and maybe a few more will come. It's a working day now. And some of you have come a long way. You've come all the way from Auckland. Lord Chandra, you came all the way today from Auckland. And also from Auckland. Who else came from Auckland? Abhishek, but anyone else? Someone else was with us that came from.
We came from Hamilton.
Pardon?
From Hamilton is Saradia.
Saradia, they came via Auckland. Okay, son. And from Christchurch, from Lord Chandler's here. I guess the rest of you are mostly from Wellington, in Lower Hutt or something. Something like that. So we're gathered here in this very kind of scenic place. And today is very, on our calendar at least, in many parts of the world the dates are different on special occasions. The date is today rather is the appearance day of Advaitaacarya, is that right? And tomorrow, is it tomorrow something tomorrow? Is it Advaitaacarya tomorrow or something else?
Bhishmashtami, Maharaj, tomorrow.
Bhishmashtami.
And day after tomorrow is
Advaitaacarya. Now Friday is Saturday, I don't know, different days.
Saturday is Ekadashi.
Ekadashi. There's a few festivals. When is Mahadev's appearance day?
Sunday, I think it's Sunday.
Sunday?
Sunday
is Mahadev.
Monday.
And then Monday is Janananda Theodashi. It's quite a busy week with festivals, I must say. And we'll try to enter a little bit into the association of Advaitaacarya today. Om Madhyana Timirandasya Janananda Chakshoran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Tadane Swayamupakadamayo Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakama Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sahagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanam Krishna Chaitanya Devi Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Hare Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatruyascha Vipasindhu Vyevidisha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaitaacarya Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Namo Vishnudaya, Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane, Namaste Sarasate Devi, Gauravani Charine, Yamasesha Sunyavadi, Astachari Shatani. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda.
Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda,
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhaktavinda.
Panchatattvam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Shrupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna. Some of you have read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Maybe. How many of you have read the whole, not just a little bit, the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita? Anyone? Read the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. Wonderful. Wonderful. What was your name again? Aravinda Navaprabhu. Aravinda Navaprabhu. And where's your home country?
New Zealand.
Pardon?
New Zealand?
New Zealand. From New Zealand, has read the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. I can tell definitely this has not been read very often. It's as good as new. Chris, maybe it's looked at a little bit. Where's Arjun Priya? Have you finished the book? No. You've got them, at least that's a good start. Very hard to read if you don't have it. Of course you can read it online or you can read it on some kind of Kindle or something, I suppose. Better to read the book especially if you're living in a house. As we were reading this morning, Prabhupada was saying that. Read. Prabhupada was saying how these books are as good as deities. They should be respected like deities. They're not just ordinary books by any means. They're the literary incarnation of Godhead. Chaitanya Charitamrita is as Prabhupada would sometimes say, it's like a postgraduate study. Where's Rasaraj? There it is. Okay. It's a postgraduate study. You know, the Bhagavad Gita is like a degree.
Maybe I could put one of those big ones.
And then I suppose Bhagavatam's like a master's degree or something. It's like a PhD. Specialist. But what's special about Chaitanya Charitamrita? It's a bit too high.
Too high?
Yeah. It doesn't need it. There's a nice carpet on the floor. Not cold. And Sri Bhagavad Gita gives us you could say the direction leading up to the objective of spiritual life, surrendering to Krishna, thinking of Krishna and so on. How to come to that point. Srimad Bhagavatam is a further addition to the Lord himself has explained. You know, there's a lot of explanations in the Bhagavad Gita in terms of the Lord's relationship with the material world. But there's not much explanation about his personal relationships or pastimes with his devotees. Only in relationship with the material world, more or less, maybe little indication, but not much. Because specifically to take us from identifying with the material world and being trapped in this material world to the platform of freedom in this material world. Srimad Bhagavatam is the beautiful description of the personality of God. His various incarnations, of course, there's many other subjects are mentioned, everything. But specifically to clarify the unique absolute position of Krishna. And Chaitanya Charitamrita's, you've heard before, many of you have heard it, I imagine, is like the living force. The very word Chaitanya Charita Amrita, eternal nectar, is the nature of the living entity who is on that level of prema, or love for Krishna. It's a manifestation of that loving exchange. One sees what it is to be on that platform of pure devotional service. It's a little, you could say, a little high for most people. Srila Prabhupada, he produced his Chaitanya Charitamrita, as you know. On request, actually, he was requested by some of his disciples, but he wanted to do anything. It was a nectarine. When we read the journey of Srila Prabhupada on the Jaladuta to America, Prabhupada was taking shelter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, nectarine of his life. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, his spiritual master, this to him also was practically the essence of the Shastra, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj is sometimes said, there may be other statements to the contrary, but I've read, that he would often make the reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita primary before Bhagavatam. Why? Well, one good reason is that who knows about Lord Chaitanya? How many people in this world have heard of Lord Chaitanya? How many? I can not remember the name of this town, something Mata. Whitey Mata or something, what is it called? Why? Whiny? Whiny. They're all interested in wine, is it? Not interested in Lord Chaitanya. Wine and women. They don't see the women as their matters either. They're your matter. They're not interested. They've never heard of Lord Chaitanya. They may have heard of Krishna and have some perverted understanding of that. A Hindu god or something. Unless they're Hindus themselves. They may also think of him as a Hindu god. But very few people know about Krishna in terms of the reactions. What to speak of Lord Chaitanya? They barely heard the name. I mean, even in India, not many people have heard of him. What to speak of Advaitaacarya? If you mention Advaita, now Indian people may know, but what will they think of if you say the word Advaita? Today is the appearance day of Advaitaacarya. Well, they won't have probably much idea what we're talking about. If they think of anything, what will they think of if you say the word Advaita? Shankaracharya, maybe, yeah. A monistic philosophy, yeah? The Advaita philosophy. That's been mostly, say, presented in this age through Shankaracharya. But Lord Chaitanya, they would not have heard of, probably. Very few. And it's this age particularly, Lord Chaitanya is the actual, in reality, he's the avatar of this age. Hidden avatar. The nature of the Yuga avatar is to present the process for the age. Every age has a different emphasis on specific process to attain perfection. In Kali Yuga, it's through chanting the holy name. Normally that's introduced through Lord Narayan. In the Kali Yuga, it's Narayan, I think, golden form of Lord Narayan. But he presents the reverential aspect. But Lord Chaitanya in this one Kali Yuga has come to give something which never before given, or been given before in previous days of Brahma, but not in this day of Brahma. He's come to give prema, pure love of Godhead, and not just reverential, Aishwarya, but Madhurya, to persons in the lowest state of life practically. Persons who are very grossly entrenched in ignorance, have seemingly no qualification practically. We're not Vedic scholars, we're not fixed in goodness, not very pious, not performing, people can't perform austerities. Very fallen condition, Kali Yuga. We're 5,000 years into the Yuga or so, what to speak of years to come. And practically none of the other processes are practical or possible. Deity worship standards in general, the pure devotees may establish and be able to raise people up to a slightly higher standard, but in general they're pretty low standard in terms of the Vedic or the previous standards of deity worship, both in their performance, in their consciousness, in their capacity to worship the deity, available facilities, and the mentality of people, their understanding is very shallow at all. What to speak of performance of great yajnas, one can hardly afford nowadays the ingredients, what to speak of the eligibility to chant the mantras and so on. You can't go practically a minute without doing something which is contaminated. These are all, you could say, mechanical, elevated mechanical processes that were required, certain qualifications. And also the internal had to be in order. And what to speak of meditation. Meditation is, what we could say, a very remote shadow of the reality. Some little meditation for a few minutes on something or another, without knowledge of the objective in most cases. People's concentration, their ability to withdraw. I mean, the world we're in, for a start, is very complicated and very disturbing. So many distractions, both gross and subtle. Very difficult to meditate in terms of the real meaning of meditation. We're so absorbed in material sense gratification and so on. Very difficult. So the Lord in this age, from Kali Yuga, of course, the chanting of the holy name, but particularly in this age, Lord Chaitanya has come. Unknown to most people, he's hidden, avatar, almost unheard of. But it's our opportunity to, say, inform the world of the good tidings, if you want to call it that, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is quite philosophical in many places, and there are many pastimes, many wonderful stories in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, very enlightening, very instructive. And the pastimes of Advaitaacarya are expanded somewhat, but not so much. There is one book, Advaitaacarya, but Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj did not accept that as authoritative. We find information about Advaitaacarya, who is he, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We find some of his glories mentioned in the other biographies by Vrindavan Das Thakur and Chaitanya Bhagavat. His glories are unlimited. We've just chanted Panchatattva, and we just chanted some mantras just now. Where Advaitaacarya name was mentioned. He's the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, but he's also in the mood of a devotee. It's amazing, isn't it? How the Lord himself appears in a form to serve himself. Like in Giriraj, he's both God and he's also a servant of God. This is the greatest pleasure for the Lord to render service. We're all, in a sense, having that propensity to serve. So Advaita is the Supreme Lord himself. Yet he appears in the mood of the servant. The Lord can do anything he likes. And he relishes this much more. In fact, in his relationships with his devotees, he likes to be the servant. The son. Yeah? The Krishna is the son. He would say he's being served by his parents in that way. In other relationships, he's the servant. He serves Radharani. His friends, he's equal. Different relationships. He relishes all forms of relationship. They all have their roots in him. And Advaitaacarya is fulfilling various roles. And we'll just read a couple of verses and then we'll continue. There's quite a lot written about Advaitaacarya in Advaitaacarya. At least his appearance in this world is described. And in other places there's some references here and there. A little bit in Chaitanya Mandala. Here we go. Text number 1 of the chapter 6 of the Adi Leela, the first part of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which basically establishes tattva. To advance in spiritual life, just like if we want to build a house, I would assume in Wellington to build a house you have to have fairly good structure, isn't it? I heard that Wellington is potentially in an earthquake area, is that right? Yes? And usually in this type of areas you have to have a pretty good foundation, I guess, also, structure also, to withstand as much as possible earthquakes. So you have to have a special foundation structure before you can build safely with permission. So to advance in building a house, what to speak, is very complicated nowadays, isn't it? How we build houses is not so easy. Sometimes you have to spend the rest of your life paying for it, isn't it? Mortgage, loans, and what have you. It's crazy. All the ingredients are free. They're given by Krishna. Yet people claim proprietorship and charge huge amounts of money for this. Different age that we live in. Another symptom of this demonic age. So Advaitaacarya, tattvas, we should know. At least we should theoretically have understanding of these various tattvas. Tattva, of course, one which we hear about quite often. But also Vishnu tattva, Jiva tattva, Shakti tattva, and various other truths about the Absolute, as well as this material world. Truth about the material energy, Maya tattva. Everything should be understood, at least in proportion or in relationship with each other. So we get a bit of a clear idea, otherwise we're, let me see, barking on the wrong tree or something. We've got it wrong in the beginning, and if 2 and 2 equals 3, no matter how good you are after that, is wrong. So one has to get the basic truths in place. Bhagavad Gita gives a very grounded foundation of these tattvas, of these truths. Without that, we cannot really understand or appreciate Srimad Bhagavatam. It becomes either a misunderstanding, as most people have, personal, imaginary, or something or other. false of some kind. Or we have no understanding at all. It doesn't mean anything. So when the tattvas are a little bit understood, then we can move forward. So the truth of Gora Tattva is also very important. Chaitanya Charitamrita covers all the tattvas also, but particularly Gora Tattva. What to speak of Advaita, of course he is, as we'll see in these verses, is not just a separate entity as such. Text number 1, I'll just read the English. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Advaitaacarya, whose activities are all wonderful. By his mercy, even a foolish person can describe his characteristics. By his mercy. Mercy, besides, you could say, exposure to and hearing from the right source. Everything depends on mercy. On our own, we have no standing. Our intellect, our physical capacity, our mental capacity are so limited. To understand these truths, we depend on mercy. They're presented there, you can repeat them. But to understand and to imbibe and accept them is another thing altogether. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates have made this accessible by their mercy. The Lord's mercy is that he appears in this world. But that's, you could say, one thing. But to actually associate or take advantage of his appearance in this world is another thing. That also we may need mercy, maybe through a pure devotee of the Lord. And even though we come in contact, to actually really come in contact, to really enter into the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, we should pray for that mercy. Even to chant the holy name, we should pray for that mercy. We'll see a bit more about Advaitaacarya. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaitaacarya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In 5 verses, I won't read them. Lord Advaitaacarya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu. And I guess everyone's heard of Mahavishnu, Vishnu Tattva, another Tattva, the expansion of the Lord in the form of Lord Vishnu for creative purposes. So he's an incarnation of that form of the Lord, whose main function is to create the cosmic manifestation through the actions of Maya. Because he's non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. This term Advaita meaning one with, not different, is actually applicable to Advaitaacarya because he is non-different to Lord Vishnu. And because he propagates the cult, you know, the task of Lord Vishnu is, as Lord expanding for that particular part. But in of itself, it's not I wouldn't say a thankless task, but it's not exactly a task that you can aspire for, creating a prison house for the errant conditioned souls. Not the most aspired for form of devotion, but necessary nonetheless, the Lord provides. Still, the situation, in some ways, Lord Vishnu, to relish Lord Chaitanya's presence also, and the nectar, just like Yamaraj took the form of the Dura in order to preach, to glorify the Lord. In that way, the nectar of preaching is nothing higher than to spread the glories of the Lord. So Advaitaacarya, or Lord Vishnu, was also taking that role in the form of Advaitaacarya. He's teaching pure devotion. So he's known as Acharya, one who teaches by his example. He's the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotees both. Therefore I take shelter of him. Sri Advaitaacarya is indeed directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. His glory is beyond the conception of ordinary living beings. And then it goes on with a long chapter dealing with the more, you could say, esoteric aspects, the more complex aspects of the Lord's role as Mahavishnu, as form of Sankarshan. Sankarshan, he's actually also from Lord Balaram. He's the first expansion of the Lord, as we say, known as Nityananda, as the expansion of the Lord. From Lord Balaram expands various other forms of the Lord, the Chatavyuha, comprising of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Ruda, and Pradyumna, and so on. And then through Sankarshan, who is also originally, everything expands, all the other forms expand through him, and further Chatavyuha expansions, and then the Purusha avatars and so on. Everything's expanding from Lord Balaram in that way. So, in one sense, you could say all the various Purusha avatars and various forms of the Lord are expansions of Lord Balaram, who's an expansion of the Lord Krishna. So Advaitaacarya also has a very close connection there, and specifically another form of Sankarshan is Sadashiva. And later in this chapter you can see that that same Sadashiva also appears in this world in the form of Advaitaacarya. There's a combined form of Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva appearing with Lord Chaitanya. So some people ask us, well, what's your relationship with Lord Shiva? We don't seem to place much emphasis on Lord Shiva in our temples and so on. Sometimes, but not much. There are many pastimes of Lord Shiva in the Bhagavatam, and of course in many of the Puranas and so on. But not much emphasis, they would say. The difference between Vaishnavas and Shaivas sometimes appears quite extreme. But for the Vaishnava, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly, another aspect, another truth, which is even more mysterious, is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have the teaching of Sankaracharya, the Ramanujacharya, I think his appearance day is coming up soon or something like that. And Madhvacharya, of course, are there. They preach more the distinction between the Lord and his energies. And Sankaracharya preaches more the oneness between them. The Lord Chaitanya has combined them all these truths combined, the Chinchya Veda Veda Tattva, the nature of the truth, simultaneously one and different. This is philosophy. Everything is simultaneously one with God because it comes from him and has a relationship with him. And that's why Prabhupada would use the term part and parcel. Just like the parts of the body, they're not the whole body, but they're part of it. You can't say the hand is the body, but it's part of the body. So everything is a part of the whole in that sense. Simultaneously one with, yet there's a difference there. It has different roles. Maybe the role mentioned of servitorship, for instance. The servitor of God and the served God. Sometimes the Panchatattva are described like that. That Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaitaacarya are the Supreme Lord, and Gadadhar Pandit and Srivasa, the Supreme Lord in the sense that they are of the same transcendental nature, but in the mood of servitorship. So Advaitaacarya also takes that role, and they in all forms to some extent, but primarily he's of the Vishnu Tattva, or the Shiva Tattva, but in Sadashiva form, which is also Narayan form in one sense, from whom Lord Shiva comes. So he appears in this way. When the Lord appears in this world, we know more or less in every case that he prepares the way, depending on the purpose of his incarnation or his appearance. Sometimes it's not required. But certainly some preparation is there when he appears. In this particular case, his parents, his associates, and various others appeared prior to his own appearance to prepare the way. And Advaitaacarya is certainly in that category. His appearance in this world was not ordinary. And that's described in Advaitaacarya. Lord Shiva, one of his chief servants, at least in this world, is Kuvera. Kuvera, you most certainly know, is the demigod. He's like the treasurer of the demigods. He looks after the wealth. Everywhere we see treasury, some treasure of the exchequer, some kind of chancellor of the exchequer or treasury or something like that. Temple treasurer. So he's a treasurer of the demigods. And he worships Lord Shiva in proper understanding, not as an opponent to Lord Vishnu, but as an assistant or an Buddha assistant. So he's one of his eternal servants. And Kuvera was pleased. Lord Shiva was very pleased with Kuvera because of his devotion. And asked him, what would you like? And I want to give you something in return for your service. He never asked anything, he just offered. So Kuvera asked, my lord, I would want to serve you like a parent. Will you please appear as my son? Quite a unique request, you could say. Not exclusive, we see it there in the nature of Krishna. So some devotees want to be the parents from the parental mood. So he wanted to be in that mood of parental service towards Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva said, okay, but not now. I will be appearing in this Kali Yuga, and then you can be my father. So, be it that he has the same name. Bangladesh, there's one city called Sylhet. So in Sylhet, in a Brahmin family, appeared a wonderful personality, and his name was given to him by his father, Kuvera Pandit, probably without knowledge of anything. But this is obviously his arrangement. Lord's arrangement. And Kuvera Pandit was married to Navadevi, a very wonderful devotee also. And they moved at some point of time to Shantipuram. The histories are not clear whether Advaitaacarya appeared, as son Advaita appeared in Sylhet or in Shantipur. There are differences of opinion there, but generally it's in Sylhet that it's indicated, although it appears sometimes if you read in Advaitaacarya is not all in agreement to that. But wherever he appeared as the son of Kuvera Pandit and Navadevi. And he was the most extraordinary child. Extraordinary child. Even at his birth, he was declaring, this is in Kali Yuga, he appeared 50 years before Lord Chaitanya, so you can, well, not exactly, more or less, you can work that out. So 1436, something around that time, he would have appeared. And Lord Chaitanya appeared in 1486. So he was 50 years more or less senior in terms of his appearance. So, but he declared, even as a child, very soon, this Kali Yuga is the most fortunate, auspicious age. In this age the Lord will appear in his most merciful form and give love of Godhead to everyone. He declared like that, even as a baby. I was a bit surprised. He was so fortunate, beautiful child, and most auspicious. Most auspicious. He had different names, Kamalaksha, and various other names to give. And Advaita, because he so much, I guess, he resembled the form of the Lord. And in this way he grew up. He was, of course, naturally a very amazing child, Brahmin family, very learned and so on. And then in Shantipur, where he grew up, near Shantipur, of course, is Navadvipa. That was a seat of learning. It's described differently, but generally speaking, it's understood that he didn't get married early in his life. he went to Vrindavan for a long time, resided in Vrindavan, and he'd been to the Madan Mohan temple in Vrindavan. And very close to Madan Mohan, at the bottom of the hill, there is one temple there. Temple of Madan Gopal. Madan Gopal. At the bottom of the hill. Do you know anything about that? What's it called? A name. Just at the bottom, you go down the steps to the road, not down to the particular path the other way. Turn left at the bottom and go down every 100 meters, you come to this temple. The temple of Madan Gopal. Yeah, pretty sure. That's known as Advaitaacarya. That's where Advaitaacarya was staying when he came to Vrindavan. He stayed there for a long time. And there he discovered the deity of Madan Mohan. Later, then it was called Madan Gopal. Later on called Madan Mohan. Sanatana Goswami worship deity. Again, is related to the truth because Sambandha Gyan means the basic truth. Madan Mohan represents that first stage on the path of transcendence, understanding the truth from the right source. So Advaitaacarya is the Acharya. He established the deity worship of Madan Gopal. Later on, of course, Sanatana Goswami took that up. He returned, he left the deity behind him, returned back to Shantipur, and he got married around about the age of 50. Not much different to when Lord Chaitanya, not sure before or after when. Probably before, because at that time Haridas Thakur, who was more or less at least a Siksha disciple of Advaita. Haridas Thakur is also another unique character by all means. He's also a former Lord Brahma, amongst other things. There's nothing peculiar about this. It's ridiculous from the material point of view, how somebody can be 10 people at once. Is he schizophrenic or what? How Advaitaacarya is Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. The various, you can say, natures of the Lord's expansion possess various characteristics and qualities, potencies. They are present in the form of Advaitaacarya. A particular aspect of Lord Vishnu, or the particular aspect of Lord Shiva, which is required, are manifest in that form. And it's not like that form is not eternal either. This is very inconceivable to the conditioned soul. We're so locked up in the bodily platform of life, not understanding much beyond that. And the same with Haridas Thakur is described as many ways, as different forms of great personalities appearing as Haridas. That can be understood in different ways, and we won't go there. Haridas Thakur also appeared about 36 years prior to Lord Chaitanya, where he appeared also in what is now known as Bangladesh, in the area of Benapur. And he travelled, and eventually he came to near Shantipur, and he met with Advaitaacarya. They were in ecstasy to meet each other. Advaitaacarya was also looking for association of an actual devotee. And when they met, they were in ecstasy. And Advaitaacarya took the role practically as the Acharya, although Haridas was already chanting 3 lakhs of names way before, even when he was in Benapur, what to speak of when he reached. And this was before Lord Chaitanya's advent, by the way. They met in Shantipur, and of course then Haridas arranged for some simple accommodation in Pulia for Haridas Thakur. And many pastimes are there between Haridas and Advaita. But one of the pastimes is that we hear a lot about the appearance of the Lord. That's a wonderful thing, and it's a very big lesson to learn. The Lord appears in this world for various reasons. We hear in Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada Yadana Sriglanya Bhagavati Bharata. He appears whenever there's irreligious increase in irreligion and decline in religious principles. He appears in this world to establish religious principles, to enliven his devotees, to annihilate the demons and so on. The Lord appears, but ultimately it's his own sweet will, you could say. But his own sweet will is mostly influenced by the sweet will of his devotees. And in this case, this is the prime reason, this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The prime reason for the Lord's advent was the loud call of Advaitaacarya. It wasn't even the fact that it was the time for the Yuga Avatar to appear, to establish the Yuga Dharma, or whatever the reasons may be there. To taste the nectar of Vipalamba Bhav and so on and so forth, which the Lord cannot experience in the form of Krishna. So he's in this form. Something which Krishna cannot experience is the feeling of Vipalamba Bhav that his devotees have. So that's the highest form of ecstatic love. So he wanted to experience that, so he appeared in Mahaprabhu in order to do that. And all of the expansions and associates who appeared with him appeared to facilitate or to assist him in that experience to the fullest depth, to the deepest mood, to Vipalamba. So Advaitaacarya he was crying and crying and crying for the situation of this age of Kali. And it's described in Chaitanya, maybe Chaitanya Bhagavad, I don't know, probably Chaitanya Bhagavad, that both he and Haridas were doing it. They were calling for the Lord to appear. We hear a lot about Advaita's calls, how he was feeling for the age which we're in. Now, we may say 500 or 600 years ago, the situation in the world was pretty simple compared to now. Sure, there was sinful activity. In Bengal, it was a bit severe because it was governed by the Muslims. And you couldn't go out and make, kirtan on the street. You couldn't parade yourself around as a Vaishnava. Practically it was prohibited. It was only allowed in the home. It was very restrictive, actually. And Hindus were, they weren't in a very favourable position in society. Some of them were well situated, but under conditions. They had to follow certain conditions. It was restricted. And even amongst the Hindus there was so much, so much smarta Brahmins and various kinds of apasampradayas and what have you from the pure strain of devotion. And so many people were Shakti worshippers of the energy and not the source of the Shakti worshippers, not the source of the energy, but the energy itself, materialistic. The world was very materialistic even then. It was Kali Yuga, it gets worse. So what to speak of nowadays? It's almost unimaginable, the situation now, even compared to then. We're just so accustomed to it, we don't realize just how demoniac the situation is, how degraded things are. From top to bottom, from education to medicine to politics to economics to social interactions to family affairs, everything has become so full, so degraded, so opposed, you could say, to pure devotional service in itself. So he was feeling very much, not just for the present, but for the future conditions of the conditioned souls in this age. What hope did he got? Practically no hope. They're like ants on a log burning at both ends. Whichever way you turn, you're burned. So he was praying and praying to the Lord, what can I do? If only the Lord himself would appear in this age. Only then. He saw himself as a servant, not as the Lord. It wasn't his role to come over as the Lord. If only he would appear as an incarnation. I can see no other way that the conditioned souls can be relieved. But how will he appear in this age? How will he appear? He was really convinced like that. We should also be convinced like that. Not that we think that we are preaching Krishna consciousness, that we are the cause of this and that. We're the instruments to call the mercy of the Lord. You have to receive that mercy and beg for that mercy and share that mercy. And the mercy is that the Lord appears and clarifies everything. Otherwise it's not just about learning, it's not just about expertise, not just about having a committees making decisions, but it's actually depending on Krishna, being that instrument. He saw himself as an instrument, and he was praying. He said, I think I know what I do. I will offer water and tulsi leaves. He had a shalagram. He had a Nishinga shalagram, Nishinga Shila. That Shila is still present. You can still see it in Shantipur, I think, somewhere. And he was worshipping Nishinga Shila. So many, even Lord Chaitanya's father was worshipping Nishinga Shila. Very common amongst these great personalities. Not a new thing. So he was worshipping his Shila every day, all day practically, appealing to the Lord, please come, with loud cries. He was calling upon the Lord, please have mercy on them, have mercy on everybody. This age is so fallen, unless you come there's no hope. He's crying and crying. There are different instances that took place at that time. There were many devotees, but they were scattered mostly. In Navadvip there were quite a few devotees of the Lord, pure devotees, like Advaitaacarya was there, and many others, Gangadas, and so many others. And they were being really harassed, not just by the Muslim government, mostly by the other Hindus, Shakti worshippers. And they were really, criticizing them and putting them down in various ways, making it very difficult for them to practice pure devotion, at least externally. They were threatening them, we're going to throw your house, Srivas, into the river Ganga if you don't get out of here or stop this nonsense. You're going to cause the death of all of us. If your loud calls to Krishna are heard by the Muslims, they will come here and destroy us all. So they were very harassed, like anything. And when Advaitaacarya met them one time, some of the devotees in Navadvip, he became aware of the threats that were placed on him. He became enraged. He almost manifested his actual form of Lord Shiva or Vishnu in such an angry way. He said, these nonsense rascals. My Lord, first he said, if you do not appear and stop this, do something to stop this, and protect your devotees, if this is not possible, then I will have to assume my four-armed form, and with my disc I will sever the heads of all these rascals. He was very angry, took on a furious form, because of the condition of what was speaking now. And then he went into a merciful, my Lord, I cannot do anything. I am also a sinner. Only if you appear yourself, you are the embodiment of pure goodness and so on. Appear in this world, is there any hope? Please, my Lord, please come. He begged and begged. And Lord Chaitanya himself said, you are the main cause of my appearance in this world. So this is, again, we're not Acharya, but we try to follow in the footsteps of the Acharya and call upon the Lord. We're not perhaps calling so much. We're mechanically chanting. We're mechanically repeating, quoting verses too. It's good, it's not that it's naturally, it starts like that, but if you really want, you could say to enter into the Sankirtan movement or for Lord Chaitanya to manifest this movement, to spread like wildfire, then we have to really call upon the Lord for his mercy. The Advaitaacarya is the Acharya there, calling upon, depending on the Lord, calling upon him with loud cries of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And they're calling loudly. I don't know exactly what he was calling, because he's worshipping his deity in Shalanam. He's appealing to the Lord, please, my Lord, oh Hari, please come. And Haridas also was chanting constantly the holy name. And together they were appealing for the Lord to appear in this world. Finally, when the eclipse came, they both went together to the river Ganga. They knew that this was what was going on. And they gave charity, mental charity at that time. And of course the Lord appeared in the world, Lord Chaitanya. Advaitaacarya, well, he was senior, 50 years. He had 6 sons. Not all of them is another lesson to learn. Not even though he's in combined form of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, and not all of his sons became Vaishnavas. Maybe the influence of the Advaitavad influenced some of his sons a little bit overboard, and they were not Vaishnavas. 3 were, 3 weren't. Another lesson to learn. That even we may think, and we hope that all our children will be devotees, but it's not always the case. What to do? You can, if you want to read more about that, you can. You won't go down there. And he became like the teacher. He was an acharya, very learned, the head of the Brahmins in Shantipur, practically the head of the whole community there, senior Brahmins. They accept him as the leader of the Brahmin community there. And he also had houses in various places. He had a house very close to Mayapur. If you go to the Yoga Peak and go on a little bit further, there you'll see Srivasangam, and then Advaita Balan is there in the house of Advaita. They had a house there too, so Mother Sashi, she was sending, she had first son Vishnu to Advaitaacarya for study. There were many different teachers for different things, but Advaitaacarya was this teacher of Vishnu. And of course, as you may know, Vishnu after some time, his parents, Mother Sachi and Gavita Mishra, thought to get him married, but when he heard that, he decided, no, we don't want to get married. He left home and basically took sannyas. That was pretty devastating to Mother Sachi. And she kind of partially blamed Advaitaacarya for that, because he was his teacher. They blaming him, he's taught. Like many times nowadays, you find that people criticize, not so much now, but in the 70s especially, many parents were criticizing this movement for breaking up families. Society was criticizing that. You broke up the family. So in sort of a way, Mother Sachi was criticizing Advaitaacarya. She broke that family. And of course, later on, Lord Chaitanya said he would bestow love of God on everyone, but not on his mother. And everyone was shocked. Why not? Because she offended Advaitaacarya. Only if she gets the dust of his feet will I give her prema. Of course, it wasn't really the case. It was transcendental. She's the eternal mother. But Lord Chaitanya expressed this. You have to be careful not to offend others. You won't get prema of God otherwise. So anyway, that was all settled up, and Advaitaacarya actually took the dust of Mother Sachi's feet. He considered her his worshipable mother, practically. Many interactions were there between Advaitaacarya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes Advaitaacarya would play the role he wanted. Lord Chaitanya looked up to him. He also took study with Advaita, but that was again another risky situation, but not as much as Vishnu. So Mother Sachi and others, they had great respect. Advaitaacarya and his wife Sita were very like one family, really. And sometimes Lord Chaitanya would always look up to him as his master, because he was his teacher, sometimes 50 years senior, head of the Brahmins, and so on. But Advaitaacarya didn't like that. He came not to be the master, but to be the servant. So he wanted to serve Lord Chaitanya. So So one time in Shanti, when he was in Shantipur apparently, Advaitaacarya came up with a great plan. Don't imitate it. We don't have the opportunity. We don't have business to imitate, but to follow. But he came up with a great plan. He decided he would start preaching from Bhagavad Gita, Mayavad philosophy. You'll see that many of the so-called gurus, even the famous ones today, many, I'm saying all, I'm not giving any names, but many of them are actually either covered or open Mayavad. And they use the Bhagavad Gita, they also use the Bhagavatam to try to, maybe convince others otherwise or whatever it is. But many times, even they may be residing in Vrindavan Dham, they're Mayavad many times. Their ultimate goal is to merge into the Supreme. And so taking, Advaitaacarya could do that, taking various verses. And there's a story, I think the Prabhupada told it, a story of one devotee, sadhu. This was sadhu and there was a devotee. They met and the devotee was reading Bhagavad Gita and he said, "Oh, read a verse." Sadhu said, and he wrote a verse. And he said, "Where's this from?" The devotee said, "This is from Bhagavad Gita." "Oh, who spoke the Bhagavad Gita?" "Oh, Krishna spoke it 5,000 years ago." Sadhu said, "No, you spoke it." "Well, I just spoke it now, but no, you spoke it 5,000 years ago. Don't you know? You are God. Everyone's God. So it means you must have spoken the Bhagavad Gita also, if you're God." So this type of mentality comes out in various ways, that actually there's not really a God whom we worship. Is envy because we don't want to serve him eternally. The idea of serving someone eternally is not very attractive. Because they don't know what it means. They don't know what it means. That's the perfection of our existence. We can't imagine what it's like. We get a tiny drop in this world, but it's mixed with all kinds of other things, our own misconceptions and various modes of nature and our attachments in this world and so on. We don't get the real taste of devotional service. It becomes something conditional, and something that we give up because it's too conditional. It seems like it's not that devotional service is conditional; it's that we're conditional in relationship with devotional service. We have our conditions under certain conditions only. That's not going to awaken the love of God which Lord Chaitanya came for, which he's offering us. So Advaitaacarya, he decided to preach impersonalism, and he started preaching from the various impersonal shastras and talking about monism, oneness with God. It's all one. Amazing, isn't it? Many commenters say it's not to Krishna that you have to surrender or you have to worship. It's the unborn, undifferentiated energy within everyone. That's what's the answer. That's it. So he was preaching like this. Lord Chaitanya got to hear about it. Lord Chaitanya became furious. This is all because they had sweet pastimes. They didn't interpret. Lord Chaitanya Maharaj he became infuriated, and he went there to the house of Advaita in Shantipur, even though he was an old man, maybe at this time 70 years of age. He went there and he saw Advaitaacarya sitting there on the Asasan, preaching Mayavad philosophy. Advaitaacarya was looking very blissful. Lord Chaitanya said, Tell me, Nara, tell me, which is higher, karma, jnana, or bhakti? And of course, Advaitaacarya didn't say bhakti. Karma and jnana are higher. Without karma and jnana, there is no meaning anyway to bhakti. It was just derogatory towards bhakti. Lord Chaitanya was furious. He grabbed him off the Abhyasasan, dragged him on the floor and started beating him left and right. "You rascal! I came into this world because of you calling me, and now you're speaking like this about me, you rascal." He's beating him anyway. And poor wife Navadeva, his wife Sita, she came running there. "Oh, please stop! Please don't! You're going to kill him! He's a Brahmin, an old Brahmin! Please don't kill him!" And the Advaitaacarya's in ecstasy, being beaten left and right by Lord Chaitanya. "At last, my desire has been fulfilled. Now I know truly that he is my eternal master, and I am his eternal servant." He was so happy to be beaten. We don't like being beaten very much. We'll do anything we can to avoid being beaten and admit we're wrong. Anything under the sun, to any extent. Until, even if we are proven wrong, we still don't want to admit it sometimes. Very difficult. This humility is lacking so much in this age. People will not admit. They say the most difficult thing for a politician to say is, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." It's the last thing on the planet that they'll say. He'd rather commit suicide. It's humility. "Oh, I didn't know what I was doing." That's unfortunate in this age. People are so downright stupid that they don't recognize it. That the leaders don't know what they're doing. They don't do what they say they're going to do either, in most cases. Anyway, these various things are there. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, of course this was a devastation for the whole of Navadvip, especially Mother Sachi Devi and Vishnupriya. And others, Advaitaacarya also. Everyone was shocked. Lord Chaitanya cut off his beautiful black locks and hair, and gave up all of his. Practically speaking, what did he do? He threw all the residents of Navadvip into Vipralambha by that one act. He immersed them, just like Krishna did when he left Vrindavan and went to Mathura. He immersed them all in Vipralambha. Which is, again, seems like a horrible thing to do. In the material world, it is a horrible thing to do. But this is not the material world we're talking about. These are eternal pastimes. This is giving us an opportunity to understand the highest nature of devotion. We always want, I want to see, I want to get, I want. And it is much higher than that. Not just even selfless, causeless devotional service, but a mood of devotion and separation. So they were all thrown into that mood. But before you could say Lord Chaitanya, they weren't all necessarily thrown into that mood fully. Lord Chaitanya's Advaitaacarya was merciful, so basically speaking, it wasn't quite like that, but more or less that's what they felt. Now he's gone. He's left us. How could he do this? We're not going to see him again. Of course, the Lord had another plan, you could say, but again, he fulfills the desires of his devotees to the highest extreme. So Advaitaacarya also, in coordination with Nityananda, don't forget, in one sense, they're one and different expansion, Sankarshan from Lord Nityananda. They always had this extraordinary relationship, Nityananda and Advaita. Always, they were at loggerheads with each other. Not always, but many times they had this humorous relationship of being at loggerheads. I mean, opposed, fighting with each other, quarreling with each other. And they loved it. It was part of their rasa, constantly. I'm not going to speculate on that, but that seemed to be part of their relationship. And so anyway, but on this occasion, Nityananda and Advaita and others had made an arrangement. They made arrangements that Lord Chaitanya had taken sannyas. He wanted, as you know, he wanted to go to Vrindavan. They were wandering around, and because Nityananda had lived in Vrindavan for quite a long time, he left home. Lord Nityananda left home. He was 12 years senior. He left home more or less exactly the time Lord Chaitanya appeared in the world. And for 12 years he was away from the scene altogether. He's 12 years old. And at that time he left the scene, and it was only when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began his Sankirtan he returned to Navadvip. He was in Vrindavan for a long time. So Lord Chaitanya knew that. He wanted to go to Vrindavan. He knew that Nityananda had been there, so he was asking to take him to Vrindavan. But they were going round and round in circles in the area of Radhadesh, near, not far from Navadvip. And Lord Chaitanya didn't know where he was. He was in the transcendental state of madness. Lord Nityananda was taking him here and there around in circles until everything was ready to reveal the plan that he had. It took some days to organize, I guess. So his plan was that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not go to Vrindavan at that time. But Lord Chaitanya was aware of that. So they're going round, and after some time Lord Chaitanya wasn't aware of day or night, how day, week, month, year, it was all, everything kind of lost time dimension. And he kept asking, are we near Vrindavan? Are we coming to Vrindavan? So Nityananda had arranged with some local boys to say when, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked them, say, yes, the river Yamuna is very nearby. And so then they did, Lord Chaitanya, they told him that the river Yamuna is very nearby, just nearby. So Lord Chaitanya got very excited. They got to the river, and yes, we've actually reached Vrindavan. We're at the river Yamuna. It wasn't like a town those days, so you couldn't really see all buildings all over. This is the river Yamuna. Lord Chaitanya really plunged into the river in ecstasy. And as he was in the river, suddenly he saw Advaitaacarya coming close on a boat. Advaita, how did you know that I am in Vrindavan? And he looked at Lord Nityananda. He was surprised to see Advaitaacarya there in Vrindavan. He started to feel some doubts in his heart. Janananda, is this really the river Yamuna? Is this really Vrindavan? Advaitaacarya said, my Lord, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Nityananda, you have cheated me. This is not Vrindavan. This is Shantipur. He looked across the river and he recognized Shantipur. You have cheated me. Advaita said, my Lord, he has not cheated you. On this side, indeed, the river Yamuna is flowing, because they're flowing as one. You have indeed taken bath in the river Yamuna. Anyway, this pastime went on, and then Advaitaacarya said, my Lord, please, come to my home and, take a little prasadam. You've been fasting. Please come to my home. So Lord Chaitanya agreed. Advaitaacarya gave him some dry cloth, and they made their way to the house of Advaitaacarya. Advaitaacarya's wife was quite a cook. Lord Chaitanya requested just as a sannyasi, of course, he just wanted a very small portion of maybe some boiled rice and boiled vegetable green leaves. That's enough. And so he went to Advaitaacarya's house, but Advaitaacarya had made arrangements with his wife and servants to prepare enormous quantities of foodstuffs. Enormous quantities. And the offering altar is shalagram. But he put 3 plates in front of the altar. So then Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda with Lord Chaitanya, they went into the house with Advaitaacarya, and he showed them the offering and the altar. Oh, what wonderful arrangements you have made for the pleasure of the Lord. Such wonderful preparations I've never seen. So please, and then Advaita said, please my Lord, please sit down and take honor prasadam. The Lord said yes. Lord Chaitanya said yes, please bring me a banana leaf and just put a little rice and some shack on there. Advaitaacarya said, my Lord, no, this plate is for you. No, that's for the Lord. No. And he insisted that he and Nityananda sat down with our plates, 2 of them for them. And Lord Chaitanya was totally against the idea. But he argued in various ways, I know who you are. Don't try to fool me, my Lord. I know who you In Jagannath Puri, you eat unending quantities of prasadam 56 times daily. This is not even a morsel compared to what you can eat. I know you are. At the Anakuta ceremony, you could eat mountains. This is nothing. Just sit down and be quiet on the prasadam. And if you don't want, no problems. So he said, but Lord, he said, whatever you eat, that's all right. But I will give you, anyway, this whole thing going. So Lord Chaitanya sat down and started to eat. He was complaining, how will I maintain my sannyas principles if I eat like this? Be quiet and eat. And they're back and forth like this. And every time the Lord eats something, he would again put the preparation on his plate. And then you do the same thing quite often, you do. When you invite a guest to your home, they eat something, you immediately fill the pot up or bring another one in. Try to get them to eat more. This is a natural thing for grihastas to do with their guests. I'm not a very good guest these days. But Lord Chaitanya was eating and loving relationship going on here. Of course, Nityananda, who was by his side, had a different mindset. He said to Advaitaacarya, he said, what's going on here? I have been fasting for 3 whole days without eating a morsel. And now I can see that I have to fast again. Such a small quantity of foodstuff will not even half fill my belly. He chastised Advaita. Quite the opposite to Lord Chaitanya. Advaitaacarya was taken aback. What is this? I am a poor Brahmin? You are supposed to be a mendicant who should be happy with whatever comes his way. How can you do this? How can you speak like this? Huh? He said, take your food away. I've not eaten the least of it. And then Nityananda got pretty upset. Threw some food here and there, and the food bounced off of Advaitaacarya, who flew into the air in ecstasy. I am the most fortunate. I'm dancing in ecstasy in the air. They carried on with their argument, their debate. You are just a caste brahmana. You have no idea. Don't you know that this prasadam is holy? They're going at each other left and right. You're just a caste brahmin. And you are just a reject paramahamsa, Advaitaacarya said. And then Nityananda said, if you want to counteract your offences towards me, you should invite 10 million Brahmins to your sannyasis to your house and feed them all. I will never again invite a sannyasi to my house. He's a sannyasi like you has ruined all my Brahmin principles, Smriti principles. And they were going at each other, having a great time. And Lord Chaitanya, Advaita and Nityananda actually made arrangements for all the residents of Navadvip to come there, including Mother Sachi. So they all came there, and for many days they stayed in that area of Shantipur, relishing the Lord's association. And Advaitaacarya was, of course, hosting everyone in various ways. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Jagannath Puri to take sannyas, after taking sannyas, and on the request of Mother Sachi at that time, she requested him to stay in Puri, so he did. Again, the request of his devotees, Lord Chaitanya, is always his only real incentive is to please his devotees in various ways. So he stayed there in Puri for much of the rest of his manifest time. He traveled, of course, as you know. He spent most of the time in Puri. And the residents of Navadvip, many of them would come annually to see him. So they had that opportunity. Mother Sachi didn't, of course. But one thing that Lord Chaitanya said, that he's always present there. I told Mother Sachi, whenever you make an offering, I will be there to honor the prasad. He said the same thing to Vishnu Priya, whenever you think of me, his wife, that I will immediately be there. Have no doubt. So although he was externally manifest, he was present in the uppercut form, always with them. They're always feeling his presence internally. So Lord Chaitanya resided in Puri, and Advaitaacarya would go every year whenever he was there for the Rath Yatra to Puri. And the great festival of Rath Yatra, when they would dance and dance and dance on the Rath Yatra parade. I don't know, have you ever had a Rath Yatra in Wellington? I don't know. Ever? There's been a Rath Yatra here? When? Where did you do it?
Christmas parade.
Pardon?
Christmas parade.
Where does the Christmas parade go?
Johnson.
You go to Johnson.
Johnsonville, really, that's interesting. Just down the road. Never in the city centre. Maybe one day. Most important festival we're discussing in Christchurch the other day, how important this festival is. Of all the festivals in the universe, this is apparently the most important. The greatest festival of all, Rath Yatra. Again, it's the manifestation of Vipulamba Bhava. Both are there, and it's the pinnacle, you could say, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's relationship in a sense, of bringing Krishna, Jagannath, back to Vrindavan. This is his desire, of Radharani. That's what Rath Yatra is. It's the greatest achievement, it's the greatest service we can do to Radharani in one sense. To bring everything back to Vrindavan where it came from. Especially Krishna. Not that he ever leaves, but it appears like he does. So this Rath Yatra festival is so wonderful. The Rath Yatra festival, I mean, everything was arranged for the Lord's inner heart, his real inner purposes. Every single devotee was hand-picked. Who led the kirtan, who played the instruments, who danced, everything. To exactly facilitate, embellish, and achieve the purpose. So each singer was singing exactly the right melody, exactly the right meter, exactly the right tune. All the instruments were exactly in harmony according to the mood. Everything, the dancers were dancing exactly accordingly. The dancer was practically the chief person in the kirtan. It wasn't a wild dance as we do nowadays. It was a dance according to the Lord's heartbeat. Everything was according to the will of the Lord. And that's what the Krishna conscious movement, in one sense, is ultimately aimed at. We're not at that level exactly. We hear from pure devotees how to come to that level. We may have a little way to go for sure. But to come to that level, to cultivate pure Sankirtan, to worship the deity according to the guidance of the pure devotee, to try to serve according to the devotee's guidance, and so on. To bring everyone back to Godhead. To give everyone that chance to reconnect with Krishna. Pure devotion. So the Rath Yatra festival, Advaitaacarya, Lord Chaitanya chose 4 main dancers. And amongst those dancers, the 4 dancers were, who knows who they were. Name one of them. 4 dancers. There were 4 main parties formed by Lord Chaitanya. And he chose a lead dancer in each party. Who knows? Pardon? 1 dancer. We can say dancer. Say one. Loud and clear. The Krishna Pandit. He was probably, that was his main claim for fame or name. Not that he had any need for that, but I mean, for as far as his recognition is concerned amongst at least the Arasat, there's much more to be said about Krishna Pandit. As far as we hear, his dancing was most notable. He would sometimes dance non-stop for 72 hours in Kirtan. Nothing for a transcendental eternal associate, but in contact with this material world, that's quite extraordinary, especially in this age. 72 hours non-stop. So he was one of the main 4 dancers in one of the parties. Who else? 3 more. Anyone like to venture? Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur would have been also maybe, well, it depends. I mean, Rath Yatra is every year, so we don't know which year. But Lord Chaitanya, for the first 6 years, they wasn't there. He was traveling, so that would only be 30. So Haridas would have been about 65 to 70 at his first appearance at the Rath Yatra. So he was one of the chief dancers every year. And how long that went on, I I'll guess up to the time when Lord Chaitanya manifested his pastimes, he would come and dance at the Rath Yatra. Who else? Two more.
Must be Advaitaacarya.
Pardon?
Advaitaacarya.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise we wouldn't be mentioning. That was pretty clever of you to get that one. Advaitaacarya. Well, consider he must have been 80, between 80 and 100. Something between there, those two were at different times. So 80 years at least, you know. He was, physically speaking, say, quite old. We have the wonderful example in our movement of Mahavishnu Swami, not Goswami, Swami. He also on the go, so I guess he's a Goswami too. But Mahavishnu Swami, called him the Namahata Swami, who wears the hat with a name on it, so he's a Namahata Swami. And he's amazing. He's 80 years old. A couple of weeks he's 80 years old. 81 by Prabhupada's standard, but 80 by Western. 80 years old and he's still dancing and still going all over the world on Sankirtan. So even American little, whatever you want to call it, our level of devotion, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, the impossible becomes possible. If you remember Lord Chaitanya. Advaitaacarya was an acharya teaching that the business of the devotee is to some or another mode change our perception. Change not the world, but change the way we see things. We tend to like everyone else to change the way they see things to suit the way I see things, or the way we see things. That's the general mood of the world, especially nowadays. Everybody sees themselves in the center, everyone thinks they're right, or they think their group's right and this and that. But the whole thing is to see from Krishna's point of view. Takes a little time, takes a little bit of humility to be able to bend like that, to give up. Seeing that what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, that's the only thing that's required is a change of our perception, nothing else is required. The whole process is to change our perception of what we see. What we're seeing is seen through our own imperfect mind and senses. We try to see through Shastra, but everyone says the same thing. So it has to be through a pure heart. He said only the heart has to become purified by exposing ourselves to the pure chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Advaitaacarya, of course, he's not a conditioned soul at any stage, but he's teaching us to always act for the pleasure of the Lord, not just the way we see it. We try our best and we make mistakes, and we have to be willing to admit we make mistakes if we want to advance beyond the mechanical stage. It's not easy. Not much encouragement either. Everyone's encouraging you to see it from our own perspective. The devotees are trying their best. The demons do the same thing. They encourage each other to see things from the demoniac, even Jarasandha, Kamsa. Sometimes they had changes of heart, but then even Ravana sometimes may have had his doubts. But then he's encouraged by his demoniac cohorts to, no, don't think like that. You have to think like this. See it like that. These things go on in the conditioned world. The pure devotees, they see things always. They don't just see things. They naturally exist for the pleasure of the Lord. They have no other purpose of existence. And that's really our constitutional position. Every living entity that exists, this constitution is to exist for the pleasure of the Lord, to play our part. In the material world we play our part as part of the training to come to that varnashram or whatever it is. Play our part, perform your duty. That's only a conditional stage. It's to help us to reach the constitutional stage. So Lord Chaitanya, knowing Krishna, knowing the condition of this age, emphasized the general ekadharma, the chanting of the holy name, as the means of purification. Whatever else is favorable to assist in that, that's fine. Other kinds of sadhana, other kinds of activity, ashrams, varnas, whatever it is, but it should be assisting or facilitating the absorption in Nam Sankirtan, or chanting the holy name. This was the mission of Lord Chaitanya, the mission of Advaitaacarya. all of Lord Chaitanya's associates came to facilitate or assist Lord Chaitanya in establishing the Yuga Dharma Nam Sankirtan. They may have done other things because other people, devotees, aspiring devotees, etc., do have many different conditions, different desires and so on, so many things have to be done in order to engage everyone in devotional service. But that should result in the evoking of attraction towards Nama Sankirtan, chanting the holy name. This is the Yuga Dharma, the only way, Lord Chaitanya said, and personally said, this is the only infallible means of success. There is no other means. Bhaktivinoda Bhaktisiddhanta said this, that there's no other means. Bhaktisiddhanta wrote this. Lord Chaitanya did not emphasize deity worship, he emphasized the holy name as the only infallible means of success and the emperor of all sadhana. Chanting the holy name. That includes hearing and chanting Bhagavatam, Gita and so on. Obviously we have to use our common sense. But Prabhupada established this principle. Our movement is based on kirtan, chanting the holy name. Advaitaacarya, as the Acharya, was teaching this principle to glorify Krishna. Radha Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Anyway, I don't know, much more probably could be said, read. If anyone would like to say anything, please do. But I'm sorry, I'm a bit exhausted today. Any comments or questions?
Was the fourth dancer?
Oh, the fourth dancer. Who was that?
Nityananda Prabhu.
Lord Nityananda. Who else but Nityananda? He's also, wherever Nityananda dances, Lord Chaitanya is present. Yes. He's always present, but his devotees can't see him. He's present with us, we just can't see him. He's present in the Bhagavad Gita, but we need some help to understand how he's there. Everything is in Prabhupada's books, we need help to understand what that means. It's there already, we don't have the eyes to see. We need help. Welcome, Master Seeker Prabhu. You just came from New Plymouth. Has your army come, team come with you? Are they all here? Where's your good wife? Oh wow, nice to be missed you in Auckland. Yeah, what to do? I'm happy to see you here. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Lord Nityananda. Can you imagine? Actually, Lord Nityananda is in the kirtan, we just can't see him. The more the kirtan is pure and selfless, the more Nityananda. Just like at the wonderful festival of Panihati, isn't it? How Lord Nityananda brought Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to personally be there. Because of the pure devotion of Raghunath Das. We're not on that level. At least we can try to remember him. When you're in kirtan, if you remember a little bit about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it might help us to realize what's going on here. It's not just a thing we do at the end of class or before prasadam or something. This is our life and soul. It's the Yuga Dharma, the only infallible means of success. Kirtan, chanting together, brings them. This is what the secret is to overcome all the anomalies, all the differences, all the misunderstandings. It must come together for kirtan. Whether we're Jadai or Madai, it doesn't matter who we are. Everyone has to come together for kirtan. Chant loudly together, putting aside all the conditional things, putting the holy name, Krishna in the center of our lives. What this movement's for. Congregational chanting of the holy name. Any other comments? Questions? I can't see that way. Whoever it is, please kindly speak up.
Maharaj, you mentioned that the business of the devotee is to change the perception from Krishna's point of view. and what we see is through our mind and senses. So, what is the gap that we need to fill to see from Krishna's point of view?
The gap.
How can we change from seeing from our mind and senses to Krishna's point of view?
I did mention that. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj answered that. What does it take to change our perception from seeing it from our center point of view through our mind and senses, which are conditioned, to seeing things from a transcendental point of view? So there's practical and effective aspects here. Practical aspects is we try to act under the direction of authority. The authority should be an authorized authority in line, ultimately following a pure devotee of the Lord. That's one thing. Practical application, following the various instructions, being willing to be corrected, and so on and so forth at various stages. And the effectual aspect, using that word, I don't know if it's appropriate, but anyway we're using it, was mentioned by Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. And so one thing is the association. We see things from our own point of view because of whatever association we've got. When we say our own point of view, it's a combination or accumulation of all the various impressions that we picked up over numerous lifetimes, in numerous associations, and according to our degree of for or against surrender to Krishna, with some things are favourable, some are not. So we pick them up and adopt them and formulate this idea, our consciousness, that which is coloured by all these different samskaras, these different vrittis in our mind and consciousness, which it's like if you're looking through, a particular set of lenses or a particular colour or whatever, you see everything accordingly. So our consciousness is coloured like that. So the change of that is the acceptance of following an authority which does see things from Krishna's point of view, Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. And the other side of it is to practice ourselves in terms of what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj mentioned it just now. He said, this can be evoked, this change of perception can be evoked by exposing ourselves to the holy name of Krishna. In this age, this is the only means. So what does that mean? When you expose a film to the sun, what happens? Camera film, you don't have them. But if you have those old type cameras that have this film, this negative film inside, what happens to the negative film when it's exposed to the sun?
Destroyed.
Destroyed, it's blanked out. So that's the same with our consciousness, which is like a reel of negative emotions, feelings, God knows what, attachments, perceptions, conceptions, everything you can think of. It's all there in the subconscious, whatever you want to call it, mind, etc. It's all there, and it formulates our various reactions, our various attractions and repulsions, and our character, everything is kind of like connected there. So that can all be nullified, not nullified in terms of its, you could say its presence. The body's not going to disappear off the face of the earth, but it changes our vision or our perception of it. Even our character may still carry on in certain ways, but our perception or our relationship with it changes, and we realize this is a result of our past. Whatever it is. It's a result of our past, and we don't kind of like, but it takes us deeper into taking shelter of Krishna, realizing I'm sinful from my past life. Even Advaitaacarya was saying, I can't do this, I'm too sinful. Only you can evoke this change, my Lord. But he evoked the Lord to appear as Lord Chaitanya. We have to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. This is the other aspect here. We have to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. It's not enough to worship Radha Krishna. Jagannath, but not enough. The worship of Jagannath means through Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is with air. This is the, you're asking what's the link. This is the link. Lord Chaitanya and his pure followers. We have to take them as our heart and soul and try to, enter into that spirit of Lord Chaitanya. By his praying for his mercy, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, impossible things become easy. If we don't get his mercy, even easy things become impossible. We won't achieve the goal. The mercy of Lord Chaitanya coming through his devotees, of course, and the process that he's given, the Yugadharma, Harinam, Sankara. We have to expose ourselves. We don't expose ourselves. We put doors up. We close the windows when we chant Hare Krishna. We look the opposite way. We embrace nonsense. We start planning all sorts of other things. We don't actually associate. These are, generally speaking, or even worse, we're committing some knowing effect or some specific offensive effect, knowing offense, or chanting. At least we have to pray to Lord Chaitanya as Haridas Thakur prayed to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like that, didn't he? Oh Mahaprabhu, please, please help me that the 10 offences never affect me when I chant your holy name, and I can be absorbed in pure chanting of the holy name. Even he's praying like that. Prabhupada was praying to Radharani like that. He was also Mahaprabhu. We can't imitate Prabhupada. At least we can imitate, not imitate, but follow the footsteps of Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Pray to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. For his mercy, we can chant the holy name purely. And that will automatically, we don't have to do anything else. It's not like a course you have to go on. You're learning this, learning that. No, you have to turn your head 2 degrees right. You're not chanting properly. You have to move the beats faster. You have to go up and down. Hare Krishna. This is totally, when I say superficial, it's not the real thing at all. It may help a little bit to keep us in touch. But the real thing is we have to be in touch with Lord Chaitanya. That's why we chant Jai Shri Krishna before we chant Hare Krishna as well. We're bound to be, whatever it is. We take shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can progress. Then we can progress. That's why he's appeared. That was the point of all this. He's come to give that opportunity to everyone, to drown us all in the ocean of pure bhakti. He hasn't come just to have a bit of fun, to sustain our conditioning, to facilitate our agendas, etc. He's come to change, give us a chance to get free of the cause of suffering. We try to take advantage of it. Chant the holy names. And just allow the holy name just to put aside, pray at least to all these other thoughts and all these other things. Aside you go. Kick them out. And just let the holy name take over. And the holy name, like the sun, Krishna Surasam, Advaitaacarya, will purify our hearts, cleanse our hearts of all the dirt. Cheto Darpana Marchi. Cleanse our heart of all the dust and dirt accumulated. You can't see through dirt very clearly. It's very unclear, hazy, cloudy. We get a cloudy, hazy picture. We don't get the pure picture. What is going on here? What is Krishna's? What's happening from Krishna's perspective? What a pure perspective here. Or what is it that we have to do to help others to come to Krishna consciousness? We can't change their perspective, but we can change our own perception. That's one thing we can at least aspire for. Our general thing is we want everyone else to change. We want them to see things the same as I do. I read the other day, who said that? I can't remember. Oh, Mahatma Prabhu. We were here the other day, he said, well, we should sometimes sit back and think, what would the world be like if everyone thought exactly the same way I do? Interesting meditation, isn't it? Because that won't happen, but just imagine. I don't know. Because it's pretty impersonal in one sense, but can you imagine, are we that perfect? I don't know. I know I'm not. But Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. He's petite pavan. He's a petite pavan. We've got to recognize we're that petite. Not that we're, big guy. We're the lowest. The devotee sees himself as a servant, servant. This is Lord Chaitanya's premise, in fact, of his mission. Servant as a servant. We're not the master of anyone. We're the servants of everything, and everything is, Krishna's there everywhere. We're the servants of even lower species, everything. Always trying to see how that is to bring pleasure to Krishna, how that's related to Krishna, what I can do. Try to assist my spiritual master in spreading this consciousness to others. We may not be so advanced, but at least we can try to help others who are more advanced to spread this mission. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, good to go. I put my glass on, I can't see who you are. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful
I hope, I don't know if you could hear because I said I'm quite exhausted today and I can't say Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anything else? That's all you wanted to say, thank you very much. You have to thank Srila Prabhupada. With nothing.
Maharaj, you said like Advaitaacarya is an incarnation of Mahavishnu and Shiva,
That's what
Sadashiva.
it says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, I don't know. No idea. I should have no idea.
We'll accept it.
I don't know anything about him at all, this is whatever's written in there.
But why he couldn't change anyone to chant the Mahamantra? He called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come. And he himself said he's sinful. Why would he say that?
Oh my goodness. I never thought of that before. Well, that's a really perplexing question, isn't it? My, but is it time for prasadam? Well, you know, the Lord, you know, it's like you may have different parts of your body and each part has its role to play. In the Varnashram system, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, doesn't it? He says that even if you can perform someone else's duty expertly, you shouldn't do it. You should do your own duty. So Advaitaacarya, not a conditioned soul, has to follow Varnashram. But nonetheless, that isn't his business. His business is to evoke Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come. You know, he could have finished everyone off. That's not his business. It wasn't his business. Could have sliced their heads off. If that's in that mood at one point. Or he could have got everyone to chant. At least he could have given everyone a chance like that. But that wasn't his business. His business was to bring Lord Chaitanya and other associates to the world. And as far as being a sinner is concerned, in the Bhagavad Gita we see, for instance, in the 3rd chapter, where Krishna says to Arjuna, even if you are a fully realized soul, you still have to act in order to help others to progress on the path. And if you don't, if you've got sort of transcend it all, what the heck are everyone else? How will they follow such an activity? Everyone should realize they're a sinner. We should realize that. So he's an acharya. So. And plus that, he's acting in the role of a devotee. Devotee never thinks they're a devotee. They always think they're a fallen, real devotee, sinful and so on. He's acharya, he's acting in the role of acharya. And from our point of view, you know, we should realize that. If he's a sinner, what the heck are we? Not that we say, oh, he's a sinner. We say, Advaitaacarya is also a sinner. That's another sin. That's the worst of all, it's offense. So we should understand that. That's the mood of, and that's how Lord Chaitanya will appear when you have that. It's easy to say, it's hard to experience, isn't it? But one actually has that realization, I'm a sinner, that I'm useless. And look at Prabhupada's poem, Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma. Why don't you read that and see how he feels? I'm the most wretched, unqualified, and so on and so forth. They don't feel themselves qualified for anything. You do what you want with me, my Lord. Do as you wish. That's the mood that Prabhupada wants in our movement. Why not? Why has he written the poem for otherwise? That's the first thing he wrote when he arrived in the Western world. Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma. Perhaps the most important document that exists is the mission statement of ISKCON. You can come up with 1,000,001 regulations, do's and don'ts. is all meaningless without the proper intent, without the proper mood. Has no benefit. Like throwing ashes on, like throwing, ghee on ashes or something. The right attitude has to be there. And that is manifest or fully expressed. I mean, nothing's full in one sense, but it's expressed to the max in Prabhupada's poem, back in that time. You want to become a member of ISKCON, that's the mood we have to try to work towards. It's nothing to do with institutional decisions, to do with one's consciousness. Prabhupada formed ISKCON for that reason, to try to change our consciousness. Anything else? Thank you. I don't know if that helps anyway, but I don't have the realization to go much further. Maybe something will pop up if we sat here long enough.